documents, notes, whiteboards, reset. Let me try the other one.
Oh, no backgrounds and effects. Oh, I don't know Yanontatepana.
Yes, okay.
Oh, we are in trouble. Born before technology.
Yeah, we're in trouble. It's for the first time that I'm using this. I have not been virtual. I've been
Much better, Minister. We can see you now. It's much, much better. But Minister doesn't have the background shade.
I'm not sure if in this minute we'll be able, but we'll try to get ICT to phone the ministers quickly.
I'm happy I've got an alliance with the minister.
Minister Ozi, how are you doing, sir?
Mola Nkosi, good.
Please help me, man. Come to the kingdom.
Okay, Nkosi, man. Thank you.
We're
Thank you,
starting.
Nkosi.
We're starting.
Okay. I'm watching. Yeah. Dumela Jane, Oswaka, Dumela.
Dumela Ntate Mabilo, be in order, please. Start. Unkutlwa sentle.
Honorable Farmer, good day. Honorable Farmer, good day.
Good day, Honorable Mabilo.
I want to request once again, honorable members, that all those honorable members who would be putting questions should make sure that their videos are on.
Secretary, can we just check the minister's sound, please? Can we check if the minister can unmute so that we're able to check?
Good afternoon, Minister.
Yes, afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you very much, Minister.
Okay. Is the camera still fine? Unfortunately, the background picture is not updating. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Honorable Minister.
Yes, I'm saying, is the background still fine? Unfortunately, the
No,
background picture is not updating.
no, you're still in the kingdom.
Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Let me take this opportunity and welcome you to the sitting today, and welcome the minister. I know that he's
Recording in
overseas,
progress.
and we welcome you into the NCOP. And thank you for taking your time in a busy schedule so that you attend to the business of the NCOP. Shall we take this moment to observe a moment of silence and meditation? Thank you very much. Honorable members, before the order paper of today, we do have two ministers that are invited to the sitting to come and account. We've got the First Minister, Honorable Minister for International Relations, Honorable Lamola. So if we could request that we be furnished with the speakers list, I would really appreciate. I am told that we do have follow-ups that have been made by various parties, and accordingly, if I may request the top table to forward me those as well, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much. I have received the list, and the First Minister to respond to the questions is Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP and the Deputy Chair, all the whips and all honorable members in the platform. I am currently at the G7 meeting accompanying the President. If there are any changes, Honorable Chair, the Deputy Minister is here. But from my calculation, I think I might make all the questions. I'm just alerting the Chair just in case there are these developments. South Africa, like all other member states, is enjoyed by the Treaty of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, to deploy common approaches and efforts to, amongst others, alleviate poverty, deepen regional integration, prevent and resolve conflicts, and promote sustainable economic growth and development. In pursuit, the SADC Protocol on Politics, Defense, and Security Cooperation further calls for common foreign policy approaches on issues of mutual concern and advance such policy collectively in international fora. Since joining SADC on the 24th August 1994, South Africa has been a proponent of regime that is independent and free from undue influence. The SADC policy documents are products of desire to drive regional growth and integration agenda, taking full advantage of our historical bonds, endowment and natural and mineral resources, intellectual skills, and cultural interconnectedness. Regrettable, the global geopolitical landscape remains volatile and unpredictable. The departure from multilateralism and international law complicates any strategy to advance our regional strategies. At the center of the current landscape is the scramble for African natural and mineral resources and the exact of political influence in favor of certain position in global conflicts. Some of the steps taken by South Africa to counter geopolitical influence include, in the immediate term, South Africa provides technical, material, and expertise support to the implementation of programs and decisions of SADC summits. South Africa worked to strengthen SADC Secretariat by meeting its financial obligations to the SADC timely. This will reduce the dependency from international cooperating partners. Medium to long term, South Africa will utilize its leadership role in SADC, such as being the SADC chair, to advocate for common position on issues of global agenda. South Africa will utilize its structured bilateral mechanisms and sister countries in the region to share views and positions on issues of regional and international interest. The African Union is an important organization and agency to advance South Africa's visions of a better Africa in a better world, despite the ever-changing geopolitics and international order. South Africa has and will continue to play a leadership role in ensuring that the AU continues to be premier organizations aimed at resolving the challenges currently facing the continent and African people. The geopolitical challenges that threaten the international order and multilateralism requires a united African Union that can navigate the changing environment through advocating unity, integrity, solidarity of the African people. In the next 6 months, the Republic of Togo will host the 9th Pan-African Congress. The Congress played a huge role in uniting Africans on the continent and in the diaspora. The 9th Pan-African Congress could not have come at a better time when current geopolitical threatens international order. The 9th Pan-African Congress will be a relevant platform wherein all Africans on the continent and in the diaspora will exchange views and possibly come up with recommendations on how the AU should position itself as the apex voice of the African people. South Africa views the upcoming Pan-African Congress as a critical, and it will be effectively participating in its deliberations and influencing its positions as a tribute to continued unity and solidarity of the African people and the diaspora. South Africa, alongside Togo, Ghana, and Algeria, have been given a mandate by the AU heads of state and government at this recently concluded 38th ordinary session held in February 2025 to come up with a proposal that addresses the issue of slavery, colonialism as crimes against humanity and genocide. This responsibility ties with the AU theme of the year for 2025, and the said countries will need to report back to the AU Assembly in February 2026. The current geopolitics also requires the AU to focus on the implementation of the Agenda 2063, which is a blueprint for Africa's development. In this immediate term, South Africa will utilize its role as one of the members of the ministerial follow-up in the implementation of Agenda 2063 to focus on this task. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We do have a supplementary question to this question, which will be asked by Honorable Mananiso. Over to you, Honorable Mananiso.
Thank you, our Chairperson, and thank you as well, Minister, for your comprehensive reply. My follow-up question is based on the lessons of the recent military casualties suffered by the SADC in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Can the Honorable Minister take this one house into confidence whether South Africa has reimagined its future role in peacekeeping missions? And if so, what are the relevant details and how to avoid the future recurrence of the DRC saga? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mananiso. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. The deployment of peace missions in the region under the SADC mandate is part of the efforts to contribute to conflict resolutions, peace and security. However, South Africa does so and strongly through the SADC believes that military deployment should always be limited in tenure in order to pacify the situation and create an environment for diplomatic and political interventions. The military interventions are informed by the SADC Mutual Defense Pact signed in August 2003. As SADC member states, South Africa has both the moral and political obligation to respond to the call to contribute to conflict resolutions through diplomatic and political interventions. And when deployment of SADC mission is decided upon, Article 6.1 of the Pact states that an armed attack against a state party shall be considered a threat to regional peace and security, and such an attack shall be met with immediate or collective action. Furthermore, Article 4 of the same pact calls for state parties to individually and collectively, by means of continuous cooperation and assistance, maintain and develop their individual and collective defense capacity to maintain peace, stability, and security. The Minister of Defense and military veterans will be able to provide further details if requested regarding the programs in place within South Africa's capacity through cooperation with sister countries in the region and also through SADC systems. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable Du Plessis.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Through you, Minister, in negotiating your repositioning with the increase of xenophobic rhetoric stoked by some political parties in National Assembly and the call for violence against foreign nationals in the political discourse, especially on the ground, foreign nationals from SADC and AU countries are being blamed for service delivery failures and are often victims of violence and murder, how will you manage the potential fallout with the countries of birth of these foreign nationals who face intimidation and violence in South Africa? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable du Plessis. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. South Africa continues to engage and brief all missions in South Africa from the continent on the prevailing environment and the situation, and continues to work with all our partners and stakeholders in the country to maintain peace and security, and also to continue to build for tolerance amongst South Africans and also foreign nationals in South Africa, whether Africans or from anywhere in the world. As a receiving country, we have an obligation to ensure that all processes and legal aspects related to migration are complied with and adhered to. Where there are issues and challenges of criminality, it will be dealt with by the South African police services. But we have got an obligation to ensure that our brothers and South Africans live hand in hand with foreign nationals who are here in the country. This is important in a spirit of cooperation with everyone, so that any processes must be adhering to the African Union spirit, and also within the spirit of our regional integration, the spirit of the Africa Free Trade Area, and the enabling of a movement of people for economic and for tourism purposes. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the response. The next follow-up question is asked by Honorable Makesini.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greeting to the Minister. My apology, Chairperson, the camera. Even to that, thank you. I hope my apology has been accepted, Chair.
You can proceed, Honorable Makesini, but please try to be seated next time. Thank you.
I will do that, Chairperson. Thank you, Chair. Minister, given that the African Union receives most of its sponsorship from the foreign aid and has at times been unable to assert itself for political parties or military instances, so that immediate intervention, what concrete steps have you taken or are committed to take to ensure that the SADC and the AU have institutional capacity and political coherency to have in the institutional capacity of this emergency of these people who are sponsoring us for emerging as a global power dynamics, including the increasing of multipolarity in shifting of economic alliances?
Are you done, Honorable Makesini, with your question?
Yebo, Mama.
Thank you. You may respond, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. South Africa, as a Tier 1 country, is the biggest contributor to both the African Union and SADC, and we do our best to make our contributions in a timely manner to ensure the effective financial position sound of the AU and that of SADC. And we also endeavor to deploy some and second some of our staff to provide human resource support to the work and the capabilities of the African Union and SADC, so that it's able to operationalize by member states and its contributions. So, and we also contribute, as honorable members have heard during the first answer, through our peacekeeping missions contributions, so that member states in the African continent are the ones who do the mandate and carry the task of SADC and also the task of the African Union. So we continue to ensure that ourselves as a member state, above our financial contribution, we also do the missions for peacekeeping contributions, and also the secondment where possible for our officials to play a role in the AU to provide the support, and this also to add the capacity so that we don't only rely on external partners, but member states are the ones who keeps the organizations afloat. We are also part of the countries of the AU that will contribute to the ongoing reform process that must also speak to the project of self-sustainability of the African Union. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks for the response, Honorable Minister. The last follow-up question is from Honorable Nzimande. Honorable Nzimande.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Minister. In light of the AU Peace Funds undercapitalization, only 32% of the $400 million target reached by March 2025, and the failure to prevent escalation of Sudan and Sahel conflicts. How does the Minister justify South Africa's claim to lead AU reform efforts when South Africa has yet to meet its own 2023 AU commitment to strengthen continental conflict, early warning systems, and deploy rapid response civilians mission? Thank you.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. As I've already said, South Africa is a first-tier country as one of the biggest contributors to the AU. We also provide the support through secondment and through peacekeeping missions, and also in some parts of the civilians' contribution. So our commitment to the silencing of the guns cannot be questioned by anyone, because we have demonstrated it in action, including in some of the deployments that we have made across the continent when called upon by the regional bodies, SADC, the AU, and also sometimes the United Nations Peace and Security Council, including the African Union Peace and Security Council. So this commitment, House Chair, is also backed by our actions. We always ensure that we respond and meet our obligations. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. That then takes us to the next question, which is question 162, asked by Honorable Billy. The question is in relation with the mechanisms that are put in place to ensure that both local and provincial economic development opportunities are meaningfully integrated during the G20 summit, which is hosted in South Africa. He is requesting the Minister to furnish the detail in relation to that. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. South Africa assumed the presidency of the Group of 20, the G20, in November 2024, and will lead the group until late November 2025, hosting an estimated total of approximately 132 meetings across our 9 provinces. From the onset, the Cabinet has approved that all meetings be spread across all the provinces of our country. Of all the G20 working groups that have taken place so far, provinces have played an active role in organizing these meetings, including participating in the official programs of working groups meetings at Premier, MEC, and mayoral levels. Cabinet has approved the city of Johannesburg as the host city for the G20 summit. In this regard, the leadership from Gauteng province across all spheres of provincial government will be involved in the program and related activities in and around the summit. In terms of ensuring that provincial and local economic development opportunities are meaningfully integrated into the G20 summit, which will be hosted by South Africa in 2025, I can report that the G20 summit and preceding working group meetings will further present a significant opportunity for South African provinces and cities to promote their cultural, heritage, tourism, and innovation industries to tens of thousands of delegates and support staff from some of the world's largest developed and developing economies. It is also critical for the provinces to have the full support and cooperation of the public in general, as well as local role players and service providers, particularly in the security, transport, renting of vehicles, public roads, rail, air, tourism, accommodation, and hospitality industries. Thus far, all the provinces that have hosted the G20-related meetings have experienced significant influx of delegates, support staff, business leaders, and media coverage locally and internationally. This leads to increased demand for accommodation, dining, transportation, and other services, boosting local tourism and hospitality sectors. It is also important to note that hosting G20 events places the provinces and local governments on the global map, enhancing their international reputation and visibility. The summit and the working groups meetings will provide dedicated platforms to engage with the G20 delegates on key sectors. This will be infused with the agenda of the meetings, where delegates will be given the opportunity to visit economic and tourism sites and engage with provincial economic representatives to explore the opportunities the provinces may have to offer. Provinces in which meetings will be taking place are also involved in the development of the programs. This will provide an opportunity to demonstrate provinces' technological, industrial, and commercial advances across various sectors. These are several
SABC correspondent
planned and outreach programs and public engagement activities which will involve local communities, universities, and civil society, fostering a sense of participation and pride. By leveraging the opportunities provided through hosting the G20 meetings, provinces and local governments can unlock significant and lasting benefits for their economies and communities. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister. Can we humbly request honorable members to mute their gadget, as that interrupts the speaker on the platform? The first supplementary question in this question will be asked by Honorable Billy to the Minister. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good afternoon to yourself and to the honorable members. Having listened to the Minister's, I just want to follow up and ask the Minister if he's prepared to commit to a full transparency in the G20 planning process, and if he's willing to commit to a date to share the full program of the meetings with all provinces and municipalities which he has mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Billy. Honorable Minister, you may respond.
Thank you, Chairperson. Indeed, we account to this House on all those meetings, and I believe this is what we're doing now, to account to the House. I also host regular updates to the nation, providing the details of the meetings. The Minister in the Presidency, she also does the same. And if the committee wants to get further information, we will provide the specificity of all these meetings which are taking place across the country. And the meetings are very successful, Honorable Chairperson, with the provinces playing a sterling role and showcasing our tourism facilities across the country and our capability to host world stage status events of a global capability. And the feedback we have received from all our guests and visitors has been outstanding, including on the content of the meeting itself, the working groups, our G20 priorities, and our agenda to ensure that the African continent is highlighted upon, and there is a focus on issues related to climate change, artificial intelligence, and issues of interest to the global south. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Inkosi Nonkonyan.
Madam Chair and honorable members on the platform, good afternoon. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for your comprehensive reply. Now, my question is, as part of the plan of the department to ensure economic spin-offs of the G20 to local communities, is there any deliberate strategy to ensure the integration of women, youth, and people living with disabilities? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nonkonyene. Honorable Minister, you may respond.
Thank you, Chairperson. During South Africa's presidency of the G20, there are working group structures that integrate women, youth, and people living with disability issues, namely the Women Empowerment Working Group led by the Department of Women, Youth, Persons with Disabilities, the Employment of Working Group led by the Department of Employment, Labor, and the G20 Empower, which is civil society led by the G20 Engagement Group. This forum seeks to create a more equitable and inclusive society where women, youth, and persons with disabilities have equal opportunities to participate, thrive, and contribute to national development and global development. There is a broader understanding that all working groups will ensure that issues around women, young and persons living with disabilities are streamlined into their priorities. For example, the Women Empowerment Working Group under the South Africa's G20 presidency prioritize women, youth, and persons with disabilities as key constituencies that face significant marginalization and discrimination. The Women Empowerment Working Group prioritized under South Africa's G20 presidency are: 1, key priority policy perspectives on the care economy, paid and unpaid care work, and household responsibilities. Key priority 2, promoting financial inclusion of and for women. Key priority 3, addressing gender-based violence and femicide. Under South Africa's presidency of the G20, there is a commitment to implementing comprehensive policies that enhance women economic empowerment through recognizing and addressing unpaid care work, promoting financial inclusion, including access to land, properties, and assets, and leveraging technology and artificial intelligence to bridge gender gaps. This includes adopting support mechanisms like affordable childcare, flexible work arrangements, and targeted financial literacy programs, as well as in investing in technology to facilitate women access to financial services and assets ownership. In addition, through the Employment Working Group of the G20, South Africa has also set priorities that will advance the inclusion of women, youth, and people living with disabilities. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question shall be asked by Honorable Gerike.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, the G20 summit is a welcome initiative that should serve to refute all negative and false claims of land confiscations and genocide against white South African families. What benefits does the government hope to draw from this important summit, and what will be the immediate impact on local business from this event? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Indeed, this is a global platform that will advance a very progressive agenda by the South African government. As we have already said, there are key priorities that we have set for our country and also for the Global South and for the African continent. To respond to the challenges of the Global South, the reform of the financial architecture, the artificial intelligence, innovation, and governance, the issues related to climate change, for us to be able to get financial support and resources that must enable us to respond to the challenges of climate change. In terms of the global financial architecture, only 3% of the financial outflows from the financial institutions goes to the African continent to respond to the issues of climate change. And this is disproportionate given the fact that we are the most affected by climate change. So the G20 platform gives us a good platform to advance all these progressive policies that must enable us to change this global landscape with regards to the global financial architecture, to be able to finance for development instead of more money going to wars and other issues that are not for development. So this is indeed a huge platform for South Africa and also for the African continent to shine a spotlight. It's also a platform where we will also engage with the issue of critical minerals, because South Africa is endowed with natural resources that are expected to power the new artificial intelligence and also EV, or what is called the green and environmental friendly technologies and economies that is emerging across the globe. So we are fortunate, but we need to ensure that we are not left behind in this new boom on critical minerals. We ensure there is beneficiation at source. There is also industrialization within the African continent, and this will only work when even the African continent speaks together. It is also against this background that there is a compact with the African continent that will be co-hosting with Germany and the African Union in Addis Ababa. And we have also made a lot of briefings to the African Union so that it's able to participate as a member of the G20 and shape the agenda for the benefit of the African continent. Indeed, we believe this is a wonderful opportunity for us to change the developmental trajectory of our country and that of the continent and the global south. Thank you.
Sorry, I got kicked out, Minister. And thank you very much for the response. The last question on this, follow-up question on this question is from Honorable van den Berg.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, South Africa might send out mixed messages to their citizens, as well as to local and provincial leadership. On the one hand, advocating for multipolar world order and reforms in global governments through BRICS, but at the same time calling for consensus on global issues and stabilization of relationships through the G20. Can you, Minister, give us guidance on how citizens, as well as local and provincial governments, should engage possible G20 interactions in this regard, and what our message should be? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable van den Berg. Over to you, Minister.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. South Africa should speak in one voice with regards to our foreign policy position, because it is guided by our constitution. It is also guided by the National Development Plan. It's also guided by our own national interest document, which guides all our engagements with foreign missions and international relations. So there is no basis for any mixed messages that we can send as a country. This is an opportune moment for us to stand together, to act in unison, to speak in one voice, to build our nation, because foreign relations is an extension of domestic matters. And all of us as patriotic South Africans have got a role to play to the global community to present South Africa as it is enshrined in the Constitution, unity in our diversity. So we have got a responsibility, and all players that will play a role on behalf of the South African government in all the G20 meetings, including business, civil society, and so forth, have to be guided by our national interest document, by our constitution, and by our values in their contribution for a progressive global agenda. And it is against this background that we've set out the priorities that we have set out, including the theme that must respond to our uniquely South African nature and positioning our continent, the African continent, and for the people of the global South. So this role, all of us have got a responsibility to provide that unified message informed by the documents I've already mentioned. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister, for responding to this question. which then takes us to the next question, question number 173, asked by Honorable Medupi. She has asked the Minister as to whether South Africa, as the leading member of BRICS, Trade and Development Cooperation, has any plans to advocate and lobby for integrated strategic role of BRICS in strengthening, consolidating the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. If we don't have, why not? If so, what are the relevant details? Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, South Africa is a leading member of the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa BRICS Partnership Plus has both plans and ongoing initiatives to advocate for and lobby the integrated strategic role of BRICS Plus in supporting the African Continental Free Trade Area. These efforts are aligned with South Africa's broader foreign policy objectives of promoting regional integration, sustainable development, and inclusive economic growth across the African continent. Advocacy and lobbying efforts, strengthening the AfCFTA. South Africa has consistently championed the AfCFTA within BRICS platforms, highlighting its potential to transform Africa into a united market of over 1.3 billion people, with a combined GDP of approximately 3.4 trillion. President Cyril Ramaphosa and Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana have publicly reaffirmed South Africa's commitment to using BRICS as a platform to promote AfCFTA objectives, including industrialization, infrastructure development, and intra-African trade. Consolidation of the AfCFTA. South Africa is actively engaging BRICS partners to align their investment and development cooperation strategies within the AfCFTA priorities. This includes encouraging BRICS-led infrastructure investments that enhance connectivity and reduce the trade barriers across Africa. The country also supports the AfCFTA private sector action plan, which mobilizes significant investment commitments from industry leaders in key sectors such as automotive, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and logistics. South Africa is advocating for the integration of the AfCFTA goals into BRICS development finance mechanisms, including the new development bank, to support trade facilitation, industrial corridors, and value chain development across Africa. Through its leadership in BRICS, South Africa is also promoting policy coherence between BRICS trade strategies and the AU Agenda 2063, ensuring that Africa development priorities are central to global South cooperation. In conclusion, South Africa views BRICS as a strategic platform to amplify Africa's voice in global trade governance and to accelerate the implementation and consolidation of the AfCFTA. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I'm now handing over to Honorable Medupi to ask a supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you as well, Honorable Minister, for your response. As part of the overall plan for the integration of BRICS plus countries in African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, what is the South African plan to protect the emerging domestic market of members of state of the African Union against unfair foreign competition? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Medupi. Over.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The trade within the AfCFTA flagship area will have to be in compliance with the WTO rules and will also have to comply with the fair trade obligations of all member states of the AU and also other global players in the trade industry. It is also against this background that the rules of origins have also been agreed upon by the AfCFTA member states who have now all ratified this, which will also boost our manufacturing and industrialization capabilities within the African continent. This will enable regional integration and trade amongst the African partners. This also is boosted by the various infrastructure projects within the African continent that are aimed to build the rail network infrastructure to enable trade and the transportation of goods and the movement of people, including the road infrastructure that must do the same, enable the transportation of goods and people within the African continent, and also our capabilities in the harbors. So South Africa plays a key role to ensure that the trade is increased within and amongst the members of the African Union through the AfCFTA platform or flagship project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honourable.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, considering South Africa's active role in BRICS and its commitment to the AfCFTA, can you cite at least a few trade or investment agreements concluded under each platform, both BRICS and the AfCFTA, and explain the measurable economic or developmental impact on South Africa, including any estimated monetary or job creation value? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Billy. Over to you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Indeed, the BRICS platform is a huge platform, and the AfCFTA is a huge one. The AfCFTA single integrated African market is over 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP of approximately 3.1 trillion US dollars. So this is a great platform for BRICS members to trade with member countries of the AU through the AfCFTA platform. This, as I've already said, can enable us to create a number of economic nodal points for manufacturing, for industrialization, to enable trading amongst the African partners. And this has also been further enhanced and enabled by the BRICS New Development Bank. As the honorable members will be aware, the new BRICS Developmental Bank, any country can be able to join and also be able to benefit from its big major role through financial investments and in the continent's efforts towards infrastructure development and economic integration. It is noteworthy to mention that two of the new NDB members are from the African continent, namely Egypt and Algeria. And this means that they can also access the unlimited unique potential of this bank in terms of favorable loans that the countries can receive to enable infrastructure development. Our country has already benefited through this type of a loan for our Transnet infrastructure, for our rail network and harbors, and also our Department of Water for infrastructure amounts to values above 1 billion US dollars. And this contribution will help us to ensure that our network industries enable economic growth as we endeavor to achieve 3% economic growth in the next 2 or 3 years. This will also contribute to job creation and employment in our country. The AfCFTA has registered several achievements in the past 5 years, and there is no doubt that the dreams of an economical integrated continent as our spouse in Agenda 2063 can be realized. A harmonized and coordinated partnerships with BRICS will ensure that this vision is accelerated for the AfCFTA full and effective implementation. This will ultimately mitigate Africa's risk of exposure to external trade wars that the world is currently experiencing now, and will ensure a diversification of its economic partners, especially given South Africa's recent significant membership expansion. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We're moving on to the next follow-up question, which shall be asked by Honourable Aris. Over to you.
Yes, thank you very much,
Chairperson, Minister, we encourage strengthening of processes of free trade and the movement of persons in the continent, because ours is to strive for one Africa and one trading agreement. However, we are concerned that interventions taken by your government often do not address deep-rooted challenges faced. In light of this, could you provide specific examples of how South Africa will be advocating for this strategic role? More specifically, how will this lobbying lead to changeable improvements in BRICS' role in strengthening the Africa continental free trade area agreement rather than merely symbolic gestures? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. South Africa's active engagement with BRICS members in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Areas Agreement is not with the objective to integrate them into the agreement. The engagement's objective seeks a symbiotic partnership with BRICS countries to coordinate and harmonize trade policies that could both facilitate smoother trade and ensure a more equitable distribution of benefits from enhanced cooperation. The Department of Trade and Industry and Cooperation, DTIC, through its cooperation in the BRICS Contact Group of Economic Trade and Investment, its objectives within the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and the AU Agenda 2063 aims to ensure policy coherence between the two platforms. In this regard, DTIC will be best served to provide detailed outline on the policy alignment between BRICS and the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and measures being implemented to protect against unfair foreign competition. But we continue to ensure that we operate within this flagship program for the benefit of the African Free Trade Area and also for the broader benefit of the entire continent. As I have already indicated, the National Development Bank, the BRICS Bank, will enable infrastructure deployment of resources in the continent and even in our country. We continue to ensure that the regional integration must increase trade amongst the African members of the Africa Free Trade Area and also amongst the regional economic players. I thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The last follow-up question on this question is from Honourable Farmer, and that would be the last question I'm posing to you, Honourable Minister. Immediately after this, I'm handing over to the Deputy Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson.
You can respond, Honourable Minister, to the question, the follow-up question of Honourable Farmer. Immediately after this, Deputy, you will then take over.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My question, Honourable Minister, is what has DIRCO done to ensure that South African SMMEs are aware of continental trade agreement opportunities and equipped to access BRICS markets? Thank you, Minister.
I don't know if you got the question, Honourable Minister.
Yes, I did, Honourable Chair.
Did you? Okay, because he was breaking somewhere in between. Okay, that's fine. You can proceed, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The DTIC continues to hold expos and workshops for SMMEs in our country to integrate them into both platforms, the BRICS and also the AFCTA platforms, and also with some of our missions across the continent, we continue to help coordinate these efforts. Also, this is also done with the platform of the Black Business Council and also some of the business organizations in the country which participate in the BRICS platform and also in the AFCTA. These organizations also, through their members, they are also able to disseminate the relevant information for the SMMEs to play a key role. and ourselves also as DERCO in the various platforms which we have, we continue to emphasize the fact that in the continent and also in the BRICS platform, or even in our international investment drives, we must always ensure that SMMEs play a role, and they are able to play a role in the economies of the countries which we trade with as South Africa, and also the AFCTA and BRICS. And we also continue to engage the Department of Small Businesses to also be an integral part of this process, to ensure that the SMMEs are not left behind, but they are the core and become part of all our foreign investment destinations and platforms, and they are able to benefit and contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and thank you for taking time off from the G7 to answer questions in the NCOP. Honorable members, before I move on to the next question, I'd like to offer our sincere condolences to the leadership and members of the EFF, who lost 12 of their members in a tragic accident and injuries to many others. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. Honorable Minister, we now move on to question number 168 that was asked by the Honorable Gericke. And the question was, what steps has he taken in honoring and executing the resolutions of the National Assembly to close down the Israeli embassy in South Africa? Details furnished. And two, whether he still intends to close the said embassy and show resistance to Israel's attacks on innocent civilians in the Middle East? If not, why not? And if so, what are the timelines in this regard? What are the further relevant details? Honorable Minister, your response, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me also join you in conveying, on behalf of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, our heartfelt condolences to the EFF, as I've heard you now, that they have lost 12 of their members in an accident. We convey our deepest condolences to them and also to the families of the loved ones and their communities. With regards to the question, consultations have taken place within the relevant government cluster system to prepare a memorandum for submission to Cabinet. In accordance with the constitutional principle of the separation of powers, trisa politica, the authority to decide on the possible closure of the Israel embassy in South Africa rests solely with the Cabinet. Once Cabinet has deliberated and reached a final destination, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation will act in accordance with these directives. At this stage, the embassy remains downgraded. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The follow-up question from Honorable Gericke.
Thank you, Chair and Minister. Your condolences are appreciated. Thank you very much. The closing of the embassy, Minister, was a conscious and principled resolution by the Sixth Administration. What outside forces are exerting pressure on individuals, Cabinet or the government to relent on its initial resolve to close the Israeli embassy? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Gericke. Honorable Minister, your response, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. As I've stated, that in accordance with the constitutional principle of the separation of powers, res politica, the authority to decide on the possible closure of the Israel embassy in South Africa rests solely with the Cabinet. So Cabinet has to undergo its internal processes, which it will be undergoing to deal with this matter, and it is being processed. And it will be processed objectively in line with the South African Constitution, with no external pressure to be exerted on the South African government by any forces or anyone. And the South African government will act within its sovereignty to be able to take a decision informed by the facts and its policies, the Constitution, the National Development Plan, and its own national interest. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Nuwe.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Minister. I also join you in the condolences that has already been conveyed to the EFF party. Honorable Minister, thank you for your reply. As part of intensifying pressure against the continued Israel attacks and aggression against Palestine, has the department considered other measures like economic sanctions? If not, why not? And if so, what are the relevant details? Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Noe. Honorable Minister, your response, please.
Thank you. This also is a matter that will require the cabinet to deliberate on, to exact these economic sanctions and any other pressures that may need to be exacted. But as South African government, we continue to support the work that has been done by other countries. The European Union, their member states have also begun to sanction some of the leaders of the Israel regime in terms of economic sanctions, and also some of the countries like where we are now for the G7, Canada, have also announced this type of measures. Include ourselves, as honorable members are aware, we have already taken action with regards to the International Court of Justice, including the UNRWA process for allowing of access to humanitarian aid. So this does need all countries of the world to play a role through various instruments. And the wheel is coming to a full cycle with all member countries of the UN, either putting economic sanctions, political pressure through diplomatic channels, and we are leading the legal route of the process. So there is a contribution by many member states of the UN to continue to exert the necessary pressure to stop the ongoing genocide by the Israel Defense Force. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Badenost.
Thank you, Chair, and good day, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, would the right thing to do here not just to be for your department to come out and recognize that cutting diplomatic ties with Israel effectively disqualifies South Africa from playing any mediating role in the very much needed peace process at this stage? Or have we now formally abandoned our support for a two-state solution in favor of ideological posturing? Thanks, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Badenost. Honorable Minister, your response.
Thank you. As the Honorable Badenost has heard in my reply, the cabinet is processing the matter and all factors will be considered. But the resolution we're talking about is Honorable Badenost's resolution, because it's a parliamentary resolution which cabinet is duty-bound to consider within the principle, obviously, of separation of powers. We will look into all the facts and all the prevailing circumstances and present a way forward. But South Africa's position with regards to the two-state solution is firmly remaining. We continue with that position in the various platforms of the United Nations. We continue to argue for cessation of hostilities, for the Israel Defense Force to stop its military operation in Gaza and the West Bank. We continue to call for humanitarian access to the people of Gaza and the West Bank. We continue to call for an immediate dialogue and cessation of fire that must lead to engagement towards the two-state solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The last follow-up question on this question is from the Honorable Mokoena.
Thank you, Chairperson. If you don't mind, I will not open my video because of a bad network. My question is to the Minister. Could you kindly explain to us what exactly it is that a downgraded embassy functionality entails? And what are the to a full and complete embassy closure? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mokoena. Honorable Minister.
Thank you. The downgraded embassy only just facilitate the normal processes of visa and traveling of civilians between the two countries, with no full operation of a full embassy in terms of liaising on political, diplomatic, and also economic relations between the two countries. Thank you, Honorable Acting Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. That concludes the... Did I hear somebody intervene?
Yes, Chair, just to say that he did not answer the second part of my question, which was when will we get to a full closure of the embassy? What are the timelines, please?
Honorable Minister, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, as I've said, this is a matter that we are processing through the cabinet process. I'm not able to say by this date this will be resolved, but I can state that before the end of the year, cabinet will have processed the matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now move on to the next question, that is question 175, that was posed by the Honorable Peter. And the question is, what concrete actions are being taken to collaborate with other African countries to address illegal immigration, especially through agreements that deal with the root causes and promote coordinated migration management? The details were furnished. Honorable Minister, your response to that question.
Thank you. South Africa is a destination country for migration, including irregular and illegal migration, has always cooperated with other African countries. Moreover, migration as a phenomenon, illegal or otherwise, requires a comprehensive and inclusive approach with the involvement of all countries, countries of origin and transit countries. In the context of the African Union, there are various migration policy frameworks and protocols that govern the management of illegal migration on the continent. Over and above existing bilateral arrangements between the government of South Africa and other African countries, for which the Department of Home Affairs is a better position to articulate on and is a custodian of, the African Union has developed a policy framework that ensures collaborative management of illegal migration on the continent. In 2018, 54 African Union member states adopted the Migration Policy Framework for Africa and its action plan 2018-2030, aimed at enhancing migration, governance, and management in Africa. The MPFA offers guidance to AU member states and regional economic communities on managing migration and provide policy recommendations and guidelines across the 8 thematic pillars: migration governance, labor, migration and education, diaspora engagement, border governance, irregular migration, forced displacement, internal migration, migration, and trade. The MPFA identified 10 cross-cutting issues as follows: migration and development, migration data and research, human rights migration, principles of non-discrimination, migration, poverty, and conflict, migration and health, migration and environment, migration and gender, migration, youth and adolescents, migration and older persons. The MPFA further provides the member states and RECs with the comprehensive policy guidelines and principles to assist them in the formulation and implementation of their own national and regional integration policies. It takes into account AU's priorities as stated in Agenda 2063, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and the International Migration Management Policy Standards. In addition to adopting the document, the AU encouraged member states to align their policies to the MPFA to facilitate proper migration and management and governance. The AU requested Commission to conduct a midterm assessment in 2024 and an end-term evaluation in 2030 and the MPFMA implementation. as at May 2025, the African Union Commission is in concluding stages of the midterm assessment review of the MPFMA and will release a continental report in this regard as soon as validation is concluded by member state. It must also be noted that the management of illegal migration on the continent cannot be removed from the broader challenges of migration facing the international community. Migration has always been a geopolitical issue, more so in this current geopolitical landscape. Therefore, at the global level, there is a common African position on the Global Compact for Regular, Orderly, and Safe Migration, which is linked to the MPFA. The full implementation of these migration policy frameworks will ensure that stronger continental architecture on migration governance is in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that comprehensive response. We now go on to the first follow-up question that will come from the Honorable Peter.
Thank you, Chair. A good day to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, irregular migration remains a growing concern across the continent, with many people moving due to poverty, unemployment, conflict, and climate-related pressure. Which specific bilateral agreements has South Africa signed with key African countries that are sources or transit points for irregular migration? And how do these agreements seek to address socio-economic root causes, such as inequality, conflict, and lack of opportunity, while supporting coordinated migration management that benefits both South Africa and its partners? The last question, Minister, is what concrete mechanisms are in place to ensure these
Peter,
agreements?
the follow-up question should be just one question. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, if you may respond.
Thank you very much. During all our binational commission with our many African countries, the issue of migration always becomes a discussion because it is an issue that affects everyone. And our economic plans, the AFCTA, including at a bilateral level engagement with various countries in the continent, are also aimed to ensure that there's mutual economic benefits in the two countries. For example, South Africa or Nigeria, Lesotho or South Africa, Zambia or South Africa, Mozambique or South Africa, Botswana or South Africa. Mutual beneficial relationship in terms of economic trade enables both countries to achieve economic growth, to create jobs within their own countries, which will obviously also discourage people from moving to any other country but to work in their own countries. But migration also has its positive side for skills, critical skills or scarce skills, but also for sometimes tourism and other related necessary skills that are important or critical for economic growth. So all this will have to be guided by the protocols of the AU, as I've already stated, including the SADC protocols. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Advocate Nonkonyana.
Deputy Chair and honorable members, thank you again for the opportunity. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for a comprehensive, enlightening, and indeed valuable response to this important question. Honorable Minister, as immigration is regulated by international law, which is binding, of course, on South Africa upon its adoption by Parliament. 1, has South Africa received the impact of and efficacy of some of the international instruments in the light of the changing international context of the crisis in migration? If not, why not? And of course, if so, what are the relevant details? Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Advocate Nkanyana. Honorable Minister, your response.
Thank you. South Africa recognized the importance of international legal instruments guiding our migration policies and practices. As part of our commitment to a coherent and effective migration management framework, South Africa adopted the White Paper on Migration, which is aimed to harmonize immigration, refugees, and citizenship legislations to ensure alignment across relevant policies and address implementation gaps. This strategic approach underscores our ongoing efforts to evaluate and improve our migration policies in response to evolving international domestic context. Furthermore, South Africa is one of the signatories to the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration. These comprehensive international instruments set out principles and commitments to manage migration effectively. We actively participate in the regular review process of the GCM to assess its implementation and impact. The upcoming International Migration Review Forum is scheduled for 2026, and South Africa will utilize this opportunity to undertake a comprehensive review of the GCM's impact within our national context. In addition to engaging with the GCM, South Africa collaborates with other countries to strengthen civil registration process, which are critical for effective migration management, national security, and social service delivery. In conclusion, South Africa will review the impact and efficacy of the GCM within the framework of the upcoming International Migration Review Forum scheduled for 2026. In this regard, we remain committed to aligning our national policies with international best practices and continuously evaluating their efficacy in response to the changing international migration landscape. The review will provide a crucial platform for member states and partners to assess achievements whilst also identifying gaps and challenges. I thank you.
Thank you once again, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Mokai.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair, Deputy Chair, and also good afternoon to the Minister. Noting your response dealing with the migration, Minister, I just want to find out, does your department track how many undocumented migrants are repatriated under these agreements each year? Or is it our diplomacy in this regard limited to just empty communiques? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mokai. Honorable Minister, your response.
Thank you very much, Honorable Makaya. It's a very good morning where I am. I'm in Canada. It's 7:17. But thank you very much for your greeting. That is on a lighter note. We are not paying lip service. That question of Honorable Makaya can be answered accurately by the Department of Home Affairs, which is the custodian of all the data related to the migration statistics and numbers in and out of the country. We continue to play a role to coordinate diplomatic efforts of engagement with our international partners and countries with regards to the migration role. So that with regards to also the coordinations of the BNCs and state visits and so forth, that discusses any issues, including migration. But the stats and the implementation lies with the line function department, which is the Department of Home Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Machabeni.
Greetings, Deputy Minister, honorable members, and the Minister. Deputy Minister, my apology, Deputy Chair, concerning e-camera. I'm in the Eastern Cape. We had a challenge here network, struggling even in the morning session. Deputy Chair, as we understand, each and every day, there are stories concerning the illegal immigration. For example, there was a VN last week that was trending concerning the illegal immigration in order for them to get in illegally. Minister, as part of your efforts to address illegal immigration in South Africa, What concrete steps have you taken since coming into power to strengthen border management? If, Minister, you've answered my question, my apology, since I was already said I'm having a challenge of a network. Sometimes when you are responding, you cut it off. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Machubeni. Yes, we understand the challenges in the Eastern Cape. Honorable Minister, your response.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. The network challenge has denied us to see a beautiful Honorable Machavini, but next time. As I have responded earlier on, most of the bulk of the question on this matter also reside with the custodian, which is Home Affairs, particularly with the issues of border management and also the issues of enforcement of the issue of illegal migration, and obviously the South African Police Service. We continue as DERCO to play our role in liaising with our neighboring countries, with our other member states in the continent and in the world on any issues of migration. We also continue to coordinate, as I've already stated, international efforts and policy platforms that are aimed to resolve the challenges of the migration and its management, and also dealing with these challenges, but also with its opportunities, particularly when it comes to the skills that countries use and could benefit through issues of migration. And also with regards to the issues of illegal migration, it becomes an issue of enforcement and compliance. And that, as I've said, lies with the Department of Home Affairs and SAPS. We just have to enforce and implement our laws through those relevant authorities in our country. And I believe they can be able to give further details with regards to this question. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. That brings us to the end of question 175. We now go on to question 174 that was asked by the Honorable Pala. And the question was whether the South African Development Community and African Union have any early warning mechanisms to detect and or identify poor governance and flashpoints of violent conflicts before they culminate into crisis proportion? If not, why not? And if so, what are the relevant details? Honorable Minister, your response to that question, please.
The Southern African Development Community has established the following early warning mechanisms. The Regional Counter-Terrorism Center was created to ensure enhanced coordination, strengthened partnerships, as well as to foster timely response to terrorism and violent extremism within the region. It was established in accordance with the provisions of the SADC Treaty, the Protocol on Politics, Defense and Security Cooperation of 2001, and the SADC Mutual Defense Pact of 2003, all of which are geared towards the preservation of peace, security, and stability in the SADC region. The Regional Early Warning Center was established to strengthen SADC mechanisms for conflict prevention, management, and resolution, in accordance with the provisions of the Protocol on Cooperation in the areas of politics, defense, security, and the Strategic Indicative Plan of the body. Conflict prevention and mediation mechanisms were established to foster political security stability in the region through the prevention and resolution of significant interstate and intrastate conflicts. It comprises the panel of elders, the POE, and mediation reference groups, the MRG, which are also part of the SADC mediation and conflict prevention and preventative diplomacy structure, and was established by the SADC heads of state and government in August 2004. And the SADC Electoral Advisory Council, whose overall objective is to contribute to the prevention of electoral-related conflicts in the SADC region through the design and implementation of a conflict prevention strategy, focused on each stage of the electoral cycle that outlines the specific contribution of SEAC. These mechanisms are designed to work in collaboration with the various early warning centers and related institutions of SADC member states to prevent conflicts. The SADC Secretariat is responsible for coordination of the information provided by the early warning systems and duly advise the affected member states, chairperson of SADC organ and the chairperson of the SADC. However, it should be considered that it depends on the affected member states accepting the information and mitigation measures. In the African Union, the continental early warning systems is one of the 5 pillars of the African peace and security architecture. It is mandated on the potential threats to peace and security on the continent, as well as on the action plan on the way forward. The CEWS has been successful in compiling early warning reports that informed the PSC and the AU interventions in crisis, including in Mali in 2012 and Burkina Faso in 2015. In 2018, the Political Affairs and Peace and Security departments were merged into one department to centralize early warning reporting, among other efficiency gains. The intention was to report all incidents and concerns to one central structure to streamline the reporting efforts and assist in a more effective and agile AU in responding to crisis. However, this has unfortunately resulted in the sometimes lack of coordination on early warning reports, as the new PAPS department no longer has a dedicated structure. Nevertheless, conflict prevention remains a key priority of the AU. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The follow-up question from Honourable Phala.
Thank you, Chair of the session, and good afternoon to the Minister. In fact, good morning, Minister. As you said, it's in the morning there.
Good morning.
And good afternoon, honourable members. Honourable Minister, thank you very much for replying to this important question. Minister, this is an indication that the department is on top of matters affecting this continent. We really appreciate it and congratulate you for this hard work. This is definitely you're in line with achieving the AU Vision 2030 to silence the gun, and we say congratulations, Minister. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Phala. Honourable Minister, I didn't hear a question there. It was more a compliment and a statement. I don't know whether you want to respond to anything there, Honourable Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. We really appreciate the feedback. We do a thankless job. If honourable members do see at least the progress we are making, we really also appreciate it, and it will also help us to be to look into ourselves, to further strengthen our work in the African continent to silence the gun in line with Agenda 2063, and we remain committed to this task. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honourable Adriansa.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair, Honourable Minister, colleagues in the House. Honourable Minister, thank you for the work that's being done. But if the AU and SADC truly have effective early warning systems, how do you explain the continued eruption of violent conflicts across the region without credible intervention until it's too late?
Thank you very much, Honourable Adriansa. Honourable Minister, your response, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chair. Indeed, sometimes conflicts do deteriorate, but when you look into all the conflicts in the region, you will find that there has always been engagements, there's been interventions before the conflicts could arise, and that is the work of those early warning systems. And I want to believe that when you look at the situation in Mozambique, after the elections, it was also because of the prompt response and intervention of SADC and also South Africa as a neighbor of Mozambique to encourage all the parties in the area to find dialogue, to engage with each other, to find a long-lasting solution. And as a result, you can see there is a relative stability in Mozambique, but challenges remains that all the parties have to engage and they are committed to a dialogue to resolve whatever issues, but also to work towards socio-economic resolution of the challenges, unemployment, and many other challenges that the country is facing. So we continue to work with SADC to encourage dialogue, to encourage resolutions of conflicts before they flare up. And we do our best to ensure that they do not deteriorate. But sometimes situations become beyond the control of the member states. But even in that regard, we do not tire to continue to call for peace, like we are doing in the Eastern DRC, calling all parties, all stakeholders, state actors and non-state actors, local and foreign, to come together, to engage, to find long-lasting peace for the Eastern DRC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Kennedy.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair. Greetings to the Honorable Minister and members in the House. Honorable Minister, given the importance of community engagement in conflict prevention, how will the Minister ensure that the voices and perspectives of local populations are considered in early warning assessments and response strategies? And how is early warning information incorporated into the department's overall foreign policy objectives, particularly in regions concerned? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kennedy. Honorable Minister, your response.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. Within the department, we have the School of Diplomacy, which this year has hosted a number of mediation training efforts, including early warning platforms for various stakeholders, not only government diplomats, but also NGOs and community stakeholders in conflict areas, so that they can play a role in identification of early warning systems, but also in the mediation of the conflicts before they arise, and also when the conflict is arising. We also have our own internal early warning mechanisms that helps us to look into these matters and conflicts, and where necessary, engage with the role players in the space, which we always involve in some instances the relevant stakeholders that are party to the emerging conflict. So this is done with the aim to find a long-lasting peace through dialogue and peaceful engagement. I thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The last follow-up question is from the Honorable van den Berg.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Minister, given the perceived ever-worsening domestic, like low growth, crime, unchecked political extremist rhetoric, and growing unemployment, has the South African development community, through the Regional Early Warning Center, identified South Africa as a possible flashpoint in the past? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable van den Berg. Honorable Minister, your response.
Thank you. No, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, but South Africa is not immune to the global challenges that you have referred to. The issues of lack of economic growth, unemployment, which remains a universal challenge, issues of security, And as a result, South Africa does subject itself to peer review mechanisms like NEPAD that must enable us to strengthen our own domestic capacity through the national development plans, through implementations, through projects for like the ERP that is aimed for economic recovery and economic growth, through the compacts with business that is aimed to resolve our network industries, telecommunications, the energy challenges, to respond to them, to be able for us to be able to have reliable energy supply through the engagements that the president hosts with business, through the network that he hosts also with business in relations to the revitalization of our rail infrastructure. And when all these combine together, they will contribute to economic growth. They will contribute to us being able to create jobs. We also have to continue to work as a country, collectively, as a nation, to respond to the crime challenges that he has referred to, so that we can reduce or even eliminate all levels of crime. And this then helps us also at international relations, because our domestic policies are an extension of our foreign policy. And this will make our job very meaningful and appreciable in the continent. And these platforms of NEPAD, of peer review, helps us to have a review mirror and to be critical and to be observed by our own peers. But we also subject ourselves to various international organizations, including the Human Rights Councils with regards to racism-related intolerance, where we continue to submit country reports as a country, so that we are peer-reviewed by member states and other countries to improve our internal mechanisms. I thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your comprehensive responses to the various questions. And I know we've disturbed your breakfast this morning, but we wish you all the very best, and our good wishes to our president and the rest of the delegation at G7. We know that you will represent South Africa well. Go and enjoy your breakfast, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. I will convey your message to the President. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now hand over the session to the Honorable House Chair Ryder to take us through the next set of questions. Thank you very much, Honorable Members.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson, and good afternoon, Honourable Members, ladies and gentlemen. We now welcome to the House the Honourable Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. Welcome, Minister, and I hope that you are in a warm place. It seems like the Minister of Durko has sent Canada's weather to us here in South Africa. But, Honourable Minister, we're inviting you to respond to question number 169. Question 169 was originally asked by the Honourable Mananiso. It relates to capacity challenges at the National Prosecuting Authority. Minister, you have 5 minutes to respond. You will see that there is a countdown timer on the screen, which should help you to manage your time. Over to you, Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the session. Good afternoon, honourable members. The NPA has moved from an annual performance of 50% in 2020-21 financial year to an organization that is performing at 73% in 23-24. The upward performance tragedy show the NPA making a considerable contribution towards the MTSF for 2019-2024 in terms of improving on conviction rates in all court fora and attaining 11 billion in freezing orders against a target of 10.4 billion. The staff establishment has expanded by 34% since 2019 and has a substantially reduced vacancy rate. Though challenges remain, but the improvement in performance is a demonstration of a well-capacitated and well-resourced organization. In the current format, human capacity, the head count is 5,513 permanent employees, additional 327 appointed on fixed-term contracts, and 3,500 of this, 3,562 are prosecutors who are permanently employed, and 289 are prosecutors who are appointed on contract. Currently, there is a drive to fill 268 posts, which are actually at various recruitment processes as of the May 2025, end of May 2025. In the past financial year alone, NPA has been able to appoint 728 permanent prosecutors and also 685 contract appointments. It's 728 permanent appointment and 685 contract. In terms of the financial capacity, the total budget allocated for the NPA for 2025-26 is 6.1 billion, with 5.2 billion going towards compensation of employees and over 830 million being goods and services. It is projected that the NPA will be able to conclude and utilize this budget effectively, and it will support. I must indicate, honorable members, in some of the instances, we are able to pull from the CARA fund to support some of the work, and the Minister of Finance has been very supportive to NPA in terms of ensuring financial resources. On prosecutors, we are ensuring continuous training and skills development in various job aspects. Currently, in the financial year, we have scheduled 148 training programs, and 10 have already taken place, with 60 employees benefiting from this. We do have a program as well that is called Aspirant Prosecutor Program, that we are able to recruit and train prosecutors in this area. But again, Sexual Offences and Community Affairs' mandate is also to train prosecutors to effectively deal with GBVF and sexual offences matters. And this work is continuous. We are able to do that. We consistently review the capacity and the training needs for all areas, and especially in dealing with specialized commercial and corruption-related matters. We have done the study, and the study provides a picture of levels of capacity where it resides and amongst the prosecutors. So out of this review study, we'll be able to feel where the gaps are instead, especially ensuring that in the areas where there are complex organized crime, complex commercial crimes, including corruption, we're able to close those gaps because those interventions will focus on that. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister. Lots of information in that, and I'm sure that will lead Honorable Mananiso to ask a follow-up question. Honorable Mananiso.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for a comprehensive response that has specifics. My question to you is are there any medium to long integrated strategy to attract and retain skills in the NPA? And if so, can the envisage interventions or plans to address the public concerns about the state of the NPA? I hope you got me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Mananiso, for that. We do appreciate that. We do take cognizance of the public outcry, and we do pay attention to what is being raised. And I think the recent one, if I may to utilize this opportunity, it came as a result of the Omodoso case and also with the extradition that relates to Ms. Cholota. I think if we look at these two cases, there are lessons to be learned out of them, and more work can be done, but support and providing in terms of oversight over some of the cases. But a lot of work is being done, and over time, where there is shortage of capacity, for example, we are able to source even external capacity to come and support the NPA. There is also a provision for Section 38 appointments by NPA, which when arrived on the portfolio, it was one of the issues that was pending. We have, together with NPA and DPP, work together to ensure that we develop a guideline of appointment of Section 38 as technical capacity for NPA and investigation. Out of those, submissions were made for 2 individuals to be appointed, and they were appointed immediately once that has been done. As in when they identify this capacity need, utilizing other methods such as Section 38 appointments, or even specialized advocates, or even appointing technical teams that are needed. The provision of the law and the resources do allow NPA to be able to do that. And as the executive authority and the department, we support them to be able to fulfill their responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. We now pass the next opportunity for a supplementary question on to the Honourable Godsell from the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and good afternoon, Minister. Minister, The steps that you've outlined, the outcome of the review study and the Section 38 appointments, may have incremental success, but as you well know, our courts remain overwhelmed. Now, the DA has recently proposed some reforms, which include, firstly, the rollout of a proposed watching brief program, which we've already successfully piloted in the Western Cape. And secondly, constitutional amendments, which will ensure the power to appoint and fire the NDPP lies with Parliament and not the President. And thirdly, we've also introduced steps to capacitate the NPA. And these include a quick fix to assist overwork prosecutors by implementing a pilot project where final year LLB students will have the opportunity to obtain hands-on experience in assisting prosecutors with document preparation, research, and drafting, all skills which will stand any aspiring lawyer in good stead. Now, Minister, I'd like to know whether you would consider these solutions as part of your steps to address the NPA's challenges.
Thank you, Honourable Godsall. Your response to that, please, Minister.
Thank you very much. I haven't seen the detailed submission, Honourable Godsall. I would look into that, but let me just raise the issue. In your next question, I think I'll deal with the comparatively, which you asked about the workload of NPA prosecutors. So we'll show you what other countries are doing. We don't think that prosecutors are literally overworked. The issue around the reforms, you would know that President Ramaphosa, as he got into the portfolio, one of the issues that he changed was the process of appointment of the NDPP, where he made it a process where it's transparent and also tested publicly, as we know that the current NDPP has been appointed through that process. I wouldn't agree with the removal of the powers of the president. We can differ on that and we can debate that, but we do think that there is more work that needs to be done. I agree with the ensuring that the NPA has administrative and financial independence, and that's the work that we are doing in terms of the reform. We'd have seen the commitment by the president around that, so that the DG of the Department of Justice does not become the accounting officer of NPA. That I've agreed and we are working on it. We actually thought that we could utilize other mechanisms, for example, through PFMA and others, establishment through procurement and proclamation by the president, only to find that this is actually in the Act. So we are going to review the Act so that this can be provided for, and the NPA can have its own Director General or CEO that oversee that is not linked to the department. Those reforms we do agree with, but let's acknowledge where work has been done, Honourable Godsall, and then we'll show you in terms of the capacitation of that work that we've been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The next opportunity for a supplementary question passes to the Economic Freedom Fighters, and therefore we are asking the Honourable Gericke to pose that question.
Thank you, Chair and Minister. The recent statements made by the National Director of Public Prosecutions are worrisome and require urgent intervention. The commitment of prosecutors to make the system work is hampered by challenges such as human resources, digitization, etc. What plans do you have in place to clean up the administration and upgrade the entire system to make it more effective and efficient to work? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Gericke. Back to you, Minister, for a reply to that, please.
Thank you very much. In my initial statement, Honourable Gericke, you'd have noted that I've outlined in detail the human capital. You'd see that there's work that has been done and huge numbers that are being recruited in financial year. I think we must commend NPA for being able to work on those. If you know the process of recruitment and filling those vacancies, those numbers are high and they've been able to achieve that. I think it's commendable. Number two is the issue around the digital platform. As you know, part of the work that has been done in partnership with business communities was the digital platforms for information that relates to prosecutorial information and also investigation, which they can be shared. That work is progressing very well, supported as well through financially. I don't think we are delaying in that, and we should be able to start seeing the work coming through IDEC. What we need to do as well, because we understand that IDEC has not been established long, more work will continue to be done in capacitation of IDEC and support. And lastly, on the issue of pronouncement by the NDPP, I think the issue I had clarified publicly that the issue everybody had was about infiltration. We have clarified the matter that it's not necessarily the infiltration, but concerns which have been there over time, where you find that, and it happens in various sectors, where you find that individuals within the organization will work towards the opposite. In a society where corruption lives, you are expected to have individuals who are corrupt. And that's why one of the things that I said is non-negotiable for all prosecutors across the country, irrespective of their level, is lifestyle audit. Because with lifestyle audit, you are able to see the patterns, whether a person lives above their means, and lifestyle audit is able to tell you whether within the family of that particular individual, there's inequality or assets that can be explained or monies that can be explained. So it does help. So we have agreed that this work will be done, and we have committed that it will be started in this financial year. Thank you very much, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Minister. The final supplementary question on question number 169 falls to the Honourable Majola from the MKP. Honourable Majola.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Greetings to the Minister. Minister, arising from your response, you indicated that you are currently sitting at 73% performance. You further indicated your staff complement as per the section of your department. I missed one section there, which is what is the actual vacancy rate at the moment. And my question, House Chair, is that arising from the review study that the Minister has conducted from the department, did it assisted the Minister to come out or to develop a clear with the measurable indicators that will overcome the capacity challenges? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Majola. Your reply to that supplementary question, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Majola. I think let me start with the issue. Definitely, we did highlight in various areas in terms of the capacity and the work. The review study does help, Honourable Majola, because what it does, it looks at the capacity. It looks at where the gaps are and say where you think that you have closed the gap. These are the gaps that are still missing. So it does assist for you to have a holistic view. For example, you would have, for example, because the NPA has to have people who specializes in criminal matters, people who specialize in commercial, and you know that previously, even in the public domain, the NDPP would have spoken about the issue of your specialized commercial crimes. Today, we deal with issues of digital economy, you deal with Forex, you deal with Bitcoins. All those things need a special type of training. And therefore, with the review, it gives you an analysis to say, okay, in what you have currently, what are the gaps? Do you have people who specializes in forensic that it's linked to numbers, for example, tracing accounts? Do you have people who are able to go into your Bitcoin environment to see if transactions have been happening in that space? So it does that proper analysis in terms of what you need to do. So it does help us in a way that it's actually to help us in terms of the work that has to be done. So when we look at last year and the vacancies that have been filled, that's what I'm saying. Comparatively, if you know a recruitment process, you'll understand that for an organization that can fill almost 200 vacancies in a financial year, it does show you the capacity there. So currently the NPA's vacancy rate is sitting at below 15%, almost 15%. And that is work that is being done. Hence, I could reflect on the recruitment for this financial year and gave those numbers, Honourable Member, because we are working towards even reducing it below 10%. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Minister, we now move on to question number 159. It was asked, as you indicated, by the Honourable Godsell and relates to assessments from the NPA as to caseloads. If you can give us your response to question number 159, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Just to indicate, according to the currently available information, the current workload per prosecutor in lower courts is split between the work of the district court and the regional court, as the types of cases vary significantly. The breakdown of the split is as follows. The outstanding cases per prosecutor in the district courts amounts to 80 cases per prosecutor. The outstanding cases per prosecutor in the regional court amounts to 53 cases per prosecutor. Apart from the criminal court work, prosecutors in both district and regional courts have dealt on average with 207 decision dockets in the past financial year. The number of verdict cases finalized in the past financial year per prosecutor in the district court is 105 cases per prosecutor. In the regional court is 26 cases per prosecutor. When we look at international caseload, the prosecutor in South Africa deal with average workload that is not outside the norm. For example, countries with the highest average number of cases per prosecutor include Ireland, Italy, Spain, France, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and Australia, with figures ranging from 700 to 700,000 cases per prosecutor annually. In Austria alone, the average prosecutor received 2,821 cases per year. In France, it's 2,893 cases per year. In Denmark, 905. In Switzerland, it's between 2,000 and 3,000 cases per prosecutor per year. From this example, it is clear that South African prosecutors are not overburdened with unreasonable caseload as compared to other countries. Therefore, there is no link that can be established or that we have been able to establish in the past between the current workload and the conviction rate. Thus, conviction rates do not fluctuate as such due to the workloads, but they vary mostly with different type. The type of cases as well as the kind of evidence presented to the court mostly affected the conviction rates, but also other matters that will do in terms of delay of court procedures. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Minister. And Honorable Godsell, I'm sure you have a follow-up to that.
I do. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. Minister, so I don't think my stats are far off from yours, but in my research, it's come to light that many prosecutors in the lower courts, the district courts, are managing upwards of 200 active dockets at a time. Now, I think you will agree with me that this is clearly unsustainable. And if you say that this is not outside the norm, we must also remember that we don't know what circumstances prosecutors in Italy, Ireland, Spain, etc. work under. Now, the conditions that our prosecutors work under, you cannot reasonably expect them to read their files, consult with witnesses, prepare for trial, and conduct legal research, all within the constraints of a normal working day. So my question is, what concrete measures has your department implemented or proposed, including the appointment of additional prosecutors, entertaining the DA's idea of a pilot project, which involves final year LLB students, administrative support, or the streamlining of caseload management to ensure that the criminal justice system does not collapse under the weight of its own inefficiencies?
Thank you, Honourable Godsell. Back to you, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Godsell. I think we agree on the stats. I don't think we'll have to go further. Maybe if we can go further and look at the circumstances. The fact remains, based on the statistics, they are not functioning out of the norm. That's the first thing. So we can't utilize the stats when it suits us differently. The fact is that we've done comparative with other peers. They are actually, in some instances, having less workload than the other. And where the prosecutor have concerns about the workload, they have an opportunity to raise it with their supervisor to be able to say, because this case is demanding, can I be offloaded others? So those mechanisms are your normal management processes that can be handled in an organization where there is challenges and the issues of complexity of cases. Now, number two, I hope you are not saying that we must take people who are not properly trained as prosecutors to go and be prosecutors. Because remember, that's why we have a program that is called aspirant prosecutors. This takes LLB students who are graduating to come and be trained as prosecutors, because you do not want to be challenged legally where somebody says, I was meant to be defended by this person, or the state was meant to fight our case, but they send an inexperienced or a person who's not yet fully qualified to go and fight this case, and therefore that's why we lost. Because you must remember, we are in a litigious environment, and these are lives that we're dealing with that could never be recovered. Once you try once, you can't go and try twice. So there is no space for experiment in a courtroom. We've got to send the people who are trained, fully experienced, or even if they are to go as aspirant after graduating, they must be supervised as we do. So I do think that the current system at NPA, with working with aspirant prosecutors, it's one of the good examples. What we could be arguing for, honorable member, is perhaps increase of numbers of intakes per annual, per financial year, so that we have more of them being trained. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next opportunity for a supplementary question will be presented to the Honourable Madupe from the African National Congress. Honourable Madupe.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Let me welcome the response from the Minister. And my follow-up question, Minister, is to confirm with you as whether the department has an integrated caseload management strategy, and how often is this strategy reviewed, and against what factors? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Madupe. Back to you, please, Minister, for response to that.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you, Honourable Madupe. Yes, indeed, we are managing, we are monitoring the caseload, and this we do not only in relation to prosecutors, but across the value chain. You'd understand, for a case to move in a court in terms of caseload, being able to be processed, it needs your support of interpreters in court, clerks being there, the magistrate or the judge being there. One of the issues as we looked at case backlog was to understand where the challenges are in terms of ensuring that issues can be dealt with. Sometimes you find that even let's say in Gauteng, you'd find that the judge president there sometimes would assign a particular case so that it can finish if and it runs non-stop. So it's those, then you've got to be able to provide the relevant people, prosecutor, clerk, interpreter, legal aid if it's needed, and all those things. So what we are doing, we've set up a task team which monitors the caseload. So paying attention, who amongst the role players drags the processes of finalization of court cases and causing a backlog in cases in the courtroom. So that is done. And that's why, honorable members, I welcome the decision by the judge president in Gauteng of mediation, because this will come very handy for all of us that are dealing with cases there, to ensure that court time is not wasted. And therefore, those that are able to have to focus on utilization of a court role properly can be able to. So there's quite a lot of interventions that are being done to deal with caseload, not only on the basis of NPA, but the entire value chain. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. And we go again to the Honourable Gericke for a supplementary question. Honourable Gericke.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, given that there's a tremendous workload on prosecutors that sometimes unknowingly make them to fail in some instances, what interventions have you taken to improve, innovate, or overhaul the system technologically or otherwise to make it more effective and to secure more guilty findings? Also, again, the question of digitization. We understand there are some officers that do not have technology, where prosecutors do not have technology. That is the question, Minister. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gericke. Back to you, Minister, please.
Thank you very much, Honourable Gericke. Where I'm sitting, I'm not aware of prosecutors who are sitting where they do not have technology. All prosecutors are expected to have their work laptops or a desktop, which are able to connect, because for them to receive cases in many of these places, they should be able to get it through the connection in terms of their work. So that's what we are doing, honorable members. The second area, honorable member, in that matter is that in terms of digitization, you would note that, for example, the judiciary has started to roll out a court online system. This does help as well in terms of processing of court. I know this is with civil cases mainly, and this does help with that. So we do believe that once it's also rolled to criminal cases across the country, it will definitely help in terms of ensuring that the workload, you don't have to carry papers a lot. You are able to go online, you can file, you can upload. When the lawyers are extended, you can be able to see what is uploaded. So it's one of the systems that we're looking forward to being able to be rolled out by the judiciary across, and fully functional court online would assist in reducing the workload. As I said, the issue of comparatively with other countries, we do not believe that our prosecutors are actually overloaded. But if there is one that feels that way, within the management system, honorable members, it does exist, where the intervention can be made for that particular individual so that they can be able to have less cases if there is one that they're working on that is highly demanding for the support. And sometimes they're given, for example, you have senior prosecutor giving junior prosecutors to support in case of high workload. So those interventions in terms of management are there. And that's why consistent recruitment of both in terms of permanent and contractors, but also extended to Section 38 where specialized needs is needed. It is what is available and we currently utilize. So those are the interventions that are being implemented currently to support the prosecutors, who majority of them, by the way, honorable members, have been doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Minister. The next supplementary question on this will go to the Honourable Briet of the Freedom Front Plus.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, in light of your response that prosecutors are not overworked, how would you, Honourable Minister, then account for ongoing reports of delays, postponements, and cases being struck off the roll due to incomplete case files or lack of trial readiness, particularly in high-volume lower courts? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Briet. Your response, please, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Briet. I think, as I said earlier on, the delays in a courtroom and in terms of case backlog is not only because of prosecutors. I think that we should be able to. For example, I received a complaint in the Mthatha Magistrate Court where an interpreter left court during a recess to go and drink. That's why we suspended that interpreter who's going through DC. So you'd find in some cases it's legal aid. You find in some cases it's the magistrate. So sometimes you find equipments are not working. So we're looking at that. That's why I spoke about a team that is managing and monitoring case backlog between ourselves as the department and all role players, even including the police, because an investigator needs to arrive with a well-prepared case to be able to. In some instances where you have cases withdrawn, there are various cases, for example, where, and that's why you've got to deal. You know, one of the things I've learned after being here is that in these cases, you've got to deal with a specific case and understand what has been the circumstances around either it being withdrawn or thrown out of court, and then you deal with it. It's not one uniform reason for all the cases that you see. For example, I can tell you now, when you look at the Cholota matter, it's the extradition. But as well, you look at that, it's just the signing of a letter by a minister. But the memo in terms of approval, meaning the minister has given consent, is available. So it's those various. So what we needed to do is correct the letter or even submit the memo to court to say, actually, the minister has actually given approval. So it's those things that you look at different times and be able to evaluate on a case by case why this case has been thrown out and why it has been delayed. And you'd understand in the process as well, prosecutors have to apply a strategy where they see, if I see that there is more information that I need as a strategy not to lose the case, you can suspend it. It's allowed by law. So we shouldn't see withdrawal of a case as the end. What we need to start monitoring, and I said this to the NDPP, is that how many cases that we've voluntarily withdrawn have we been able to re-enroll, so that we can monitor that we've been able to do within our strategy, which is allowed in law as prosecutorial strategy, where you still need information. So that's what I can say, Honourable Briet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. We move on to question number 170, asked by Advocate Nkosi Nonkonyana. It relates to the briefing patterns of attorneys and advocates by the organs of state. If we can have your reply in 5 minutes, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think in this area, I must concede upfront that one of the things that we'll have to put as systems is and we are currently doing, is the monitoring of the briefing pattern. So the government-wide capacity and system to monitor is still lacking in terms of outsourcing of legal work patterns. And it, however, in terms of the briefing pattern cases outsourced to private practitioners through the Office of the State Attorneys on behalf of the regional and provincial field. So what happens in the provinces, you find that the provincial government requests a particular attorneys. And I must say, Honorable Member, Honorable Botsel earlier on spoke about the work that is being done by the Western Cape government in terms of briefing. That work is actually done together with the state attorneys in the Western Cape. They are not doing it alone. They have found mechanism, and that's what we are also using. That's why the current acting Solicitor General is the one who implemented that system in the Western Cape as head of the provincial team there in terms of the work. So we do think that, honorable members, there's more work that needs to be done, especially in terms of transformation, to ensure that all those that are previously disadvantaged are also done. As I'm saying that, I need to be upfront acknowledging where the weaknesses are. For example, one of the issues that I get as a complaint more is that we are finding more that we brief advocates or we brief attorneys, and then you find that those that we brief, we have given work, sometimes we do not pay on time, or we even subject their invoices to cost consultants who reduces them. And one of the allegations that I've received was that this is done to mainly Black advocates and Black attorneys, is not done to other races. And therefore, some of the colleagues are arguing that we are actually exercising racism within state attorney. This is mainly the allegation in relation to our attorney's office in Johannesburg. But again, Chair, I must acknowledge upfront that some of the challenges because of capacity. Over time, because of budget cuts, you'd know that this financial year we've had 2 billion cut as the department. We are not able to fill to the capacity, especially in attorney's office, that we need. So you find one attorney here, in terms of the burden, it exists compared to what we were seeing in the prosecutors. In state attorneys, in terms of the capacity that we need versus what we have, there's a huge shortfall. The other part that we need to deal with is also to indicate that the legal sector code existed to specifically transform our sector. And unfortunately, as we work towards this and the implementation, we've been taken to court in terms of the Legal Sector Code Charter Council and also by Norton Rose and others. We hope that we can be able to agree that the sector has to transform. We can't continue to have a skewed sector, and therefore all parties getting out of court and finding mechanism to implement the transformation that is so much needed in this area. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honourable Nonkonyana, would you like to ask a follow-up question to the Minister?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Honourable Minister and my colleagues. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for your candidness and your honest reply to my question. Honourable Minister, I'm sure the Honourable Minister is aware and will agree that the recent revelations of briefings by one state-owned entity to one single law firm to the tune of over 80% of its legal costs is not only embarrassing, but anti-transformation, as you indicated. What is the plan of the department to ensure that briefings are aligned to strategic imperatives of empowering the
Honourable Nonkonyana, I think your line has frozen halfway through your question. Would you like to turn your video off and try and complete your question? Honourable Minister, I'm not sure if you got enough of a clue of where the question was going, but in the absence of his ability to conclude the question, do you have a response for us, please, Minister?
Yes, I think I did get the gist of the question around the briefing patterns and also indicating one company that has benefited from one state-owned entity to the value of 80% of the work, legal work. And my response there and the intervention is what we have done, introduced the legal sector code charter and targets there. That is meant for honorable members to transform in terms of ownership patterns and management in the sector, to actually change the issue of briefing patterns and developmental. So both by government, but also by private sector, because when that company is given brief in the manner that is able to give other people under the attorneys a brief, it needs to be more transformative. So we do believe that, hence I raised the issue that if the colleagues such as Norton Rose, the companies that have taken us to court, such as Norton Rose and others, if they could pull out of court, because to be honest with you, what we have here is embarrassment. 30 years down the line, we're still talking about making sure that we can be able to bring those who were previously disadvantaged to the fore to participate. Similarly, you talk to young advocates who are failing to run offices, they are not receiving enough briefs, and therefore maintaining an office is expensive. You look at black young women, colored young women, Indian young women, who are battling to find a footing. And the consequence of this, honorable members, is that as they leave the sector, you're going to look for them. When you're looking for judges to come and take the bench, there's no one available because they've left. So it's important for us to ensure that we can sustain, we can transform, and keep them within the sector, and we don't lose them. They have done so well to go far and get the qualification, become advocates. And our responsibility is for us to work towards keeping them within the sector so that they can add value into the sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next opportunity for a follow-up passes to the Honourable Pienaar. Honourable Pienaar.
Thank you, dankie, agbare huisvoorsitter, en dankie, Minister, vir jou teenwoordigheid hier vandag. Minister, can you commit to this House today, taking into account what you just said about especially the financials? Will the system monitoring briefing patterns also monitor performance and cost efficiency to ensure that government's legal work is allocated in a cost-effective manner that ensures professional accountability? Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Pienaar. Minister, back to you for a reply to that, please.
Thank you very much, Honourable Pienaar. I think you are raising one of the most important key elements of this, accountability and transparency. It is important for us to be transparent in the manner that we do our work, but also accountable, because some of the issues do go into the issues around corruption, where people would want to charge more but not deliver. So it's that balancing that we've got. When I met with the LSSA and also Black professionals in the sector, was the issue that we've got to be able to hold each other accountable. Where one of us does wrong, we should be able to, but also the quality of work, so that we do not sometimes find the embarrassment, because I get lashed out by ministers to say your offices have forced us to have this advocate who could not argue our case, and therefore we've lost it. So it's not about the lowest cost for us, but it's also about efficient management of our resources, but also the quality of work that needs to become out. So it's that work that we've got. For example, some of the things that we are doing, starting in state attorneys' offices across, is to say managers must be able to manage. Litigation management, let's not go to court when it's absolutely not necessary for us to go to court. Because sometimes you just find that people just want to go to court. But again, the feedback is that the client department, let's say they're going on behalf of her, does not give them the brief. So part of what I've agreed to is that I would do a preparatory meeting or engagement with my colleagues in national government. But another issue is to do a roadshow to provincial executives, sit with them and make them understand why sometimes we have a lot of money that we are spending in litigation when we are not supposed to. So that is one of the areas that we need to be working on, and we'll continue to improve on it.
Thank you very much, Minister. Before we move on, can I just ask the table to make sure that the timer is stopped, reset, and started for the next question? And the next supplementary question will come from the Honorable Aris from the Freedom Fighters. Honorable Aris.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, the allocation of legal work to all legal professionals, in particular Black professionals, is of utmost importance in the process of procuring services for the state. The EFF notes with concern that not enough legal briefs are given to senior Black advocates. Why is it the case? And how do you envisage to correct this situation? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Aris. Minister, you've partly answered that, but would you like to give some more information on it, please?
Thank you very much. I'm happy with Honorable Aris, the approach, because in the NA, the Honorable Member of EFF was telling me about insourcing, because we do have the opportunity to actually brief advocates, but also help them run successful businesses as advocates and run successful offices. So it is important for us to continue, I agree with you, Honorable Member, in terms of transformation and also sustaining them. My intervention is not only about the briefs, but also ensuring that they can be paid on time. So we're starting to monitor the provinces, the offices, to ensure that there are no delays. I still get a lot of people saying, I've done work, 30 days have passed, 60 days have passed, I've not been paid. And that's one of the critical areas that will be important, because if we do not pay them on time, they will not be able to sustain themselves. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Minister. We're nearing the end of question number 170, but the last supplementary question will come from the Honorable Farmer of the Patriotic Alliance.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Farmer.
Honorable Chairperson, I will not switch. Honorable Chairperson, I will not switch on my camera due to a bandwidth issue. I hope I'm audible.
You are not. You are indeed audible. Please proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. Minister, I suspect you did touch on this answer already, but my question is, will the department conduct and transformation audits of briefing patterns, and are there consequences for departments failing to meet those equity targets? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Farmer. And Minister, as I hand back to you for a response to the supplementary question, I'd just like to confirm that the next question will be introduced by the Honorable Khadebe. Thank you, Minister. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think the issue here in terms of, I think others have responded to, the issue of consequence management will continue to be able to do, but it will be difficult because these are departments. And that's why we think the tightening up of the sector codes and compliance matters would assist us, because they are binding and would have to report according to those. Consequence management will be with our team where they are not paying, which we are already doing, where there's been delays in brief, there's not support for the colleagues that are supposed to support us or who are appointed as advocates, but also payments. So those we are already doing monitoring, and where we find that there's been deliberate action of not paying a senior advocate or a service provider or anyone who's appointed to assist us, we do take action in that regard. And that ranges from either suspension or DC processes for the individuals who are implicated. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Minister. I note Mr. Khadebe is not unmuted, so we can then move on, I think, to
Honorable Chairperson.
You're there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson Ryder. Honorable Minister, we are now coming to question number 167, asked by Honorable Kharik, which deals with the Magistrate Commission. Can you give a response, please?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Kharik. We reaffirm our commitment to supporting and ensuring that our country has a strong and independent judiciary. The strengthening of the Magistrates Commission certainly forms part of ongoing policy discussion towards ensuring that it carries out its mandate more efficiently. The issue of having full-time commissioners has not been formally brought to the attention of the minister. And accordingly, I will engage with the Magistrate Commission on the matter through the Deputy Minister who is deployed, delegated to deal with this matter. However, I must indicate, honorable members, what has been brought to the attention and the Commission is looking at is the issue of capacity, technical capacity. So it is acknowledged that this was a major issue hampering the finalization of disciplinary hearing. However, I've been informed that the situation has improved vastly in the last 2 years, with more magistrates willing to be appointed to lead evidence and preside over disciplinary hearings. The Commission has also utilized the services of retired judges and magistrates where necessary and will continue to do so going forward. The Magistrate Commission currently has 5 senior magistrates, 2 on secondment in its Ethics Division to support the Commission with complaints against magistrate. The Commission at its last meeting held on 2nd to the 3rd June 2025 began a process of reviewing the capacity of the division to assist with the investigations and disciplinary hearing. It is hoped that the Commission will finalize this aspect at its scheduled meeting in August 2025. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the elaborate answer. Honorable Kharik, any follow-up question or comment?
Yes, Chair, good afternoon, and thank you very much, Minister. And thank you for that clear and honest answer that you have been given here. But given that the work of the Magistrates Commission must be reprioritized to give effect to transparency, clean administration, and quicker outcomes, the only way to do so is to allocate dedicated personnel to the Commission. Asking whether the Minister has conducted research on the cost, human resource, and logistics to transform the current system, and if so, what was the outcome? Thank you very much.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kharik. There are currently dedicated officials that are working in the Magistrate Commission. What we are looking at is to say whether they are sufficient or whether we need to increase. That is the work that the Commission itself will do. I must take this opportunity, honorable members, to indicate that we held a meeting together with the executive and the judiciary. The executive led by the President, the judiciary led by Judge Meyer, Chief Justice Meyer. Now, in this regard, we have agreed to work towards full implementation of the independence of the judiciary. This means that because we started with phase 1, where you had the establishment of the department called the Office of the Chief Justice, which currently operates, the second phase and the third phase was paused. Now we have decided to resume that and give full powers of the judiciary to be led by the Chief Justice, and this work continues. But secondly, what we have also agreed to is that there must be a single judiciary. So meaning that the superior courts, the lower court, and the district court will form part of one single judiciary, and that part of work that we will be doing. So if there is identification of the gaps as we do, what we will do as the department towards working, because what we are looking at is to ensure that when we establish that full independent judiciary, we utilize the format of the parliament. And what we will do and utilizing the legislative, as we do that review, all these issues will be incorporated into that. And as part of transitional mechanisms, we'll work with the judiciary to ensure that where the gaps are existing, we do close those gaps. So it's work that is in progress, honorable member, and we understand the importance of it and the sensitivity, especially in cases where magistrates have been reported, and therefore the cases needs to be concluded in time so that if there is wrongdoing, it doesn't continue in those areas of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question will come from Honorable Phala, the delegate from Limpopo, the home of the baobab trees.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and good afternoon, Minister.
Afternoon.
Honorable Minister, we really appreciate your reply on these issues. And allow me, Minister, First of all, to express our sincere appreciation on the ongoing wonderful leadership of your department in the transformation of our judiciary, as well as strengthening the lower courts, which are located at the coalface of serving justice to the most needy and vulnerable. However, Honorable Minister, in light of the current constraints of national fiscus, will the department conduct a cost-benefit analysis of the most viable options available at the lower cost, the lower cost? And if so, what are the details, Minister? Thank you, Chair.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Phala. I think the issue here, because the commission itself has started the work to do an analysis, we would allow them to conclude this work in terms of analysis of the impact of their work, in terms of as the commission. And once they've done that, we'll be able to incorporate that and support. Yes, we do take cognizance, as we said, that we always have a shrinking budget, but we've been engaging with the National Treasury, especially in terms of the support for the judiciary, to be able to look at it, because it's another arm of the state. Previously, what has been happening is that National Treasury will look at the budget and see it as a budget of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, not as a budget that is the judiciary budget. So we are arguing that it must be seen as a support towards a standalone arm of the state and not inconveniencing. We are having this conversation and we are looking forward to a positive outcome in our engagement with the National Treasury in this regard. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question, follow-up question, comes from Honorable Press, the delegate from the Eastern Cape Home of Legends. Over to
Good afternoon.
Honorable Press.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Minister. Both the main questions are shockingly misguided and display an inappropriate level of ignorance of the composition, responsibilities, and the mandate of the Magistrates Commission. Now, having said that, as a serving commissioner in the commission myself, I noticed the underrepresentation of regional and district court magistrates on the commission. Will you consider the appointment of more regional court and district court magistrates to the commission in order for the commission to be more representative of the magistracy itself?
Over to Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Brett. As a person who's sitting there, I am actually, as I said earlier on, the recommendation will have to come from the commission itself, so that we are able to look at it and make a recommendation for the president to appoint. So currently, as I got feedback, as you know, the TM sits in the magistrate court, is that a meeting has set to review some of the issues, to look at the gaps. Perhaps maybe that's what will come as a report. And I'm looking forward to that report, because you can't just act without having a proper analysis and the report that says, and as you could have heard me, I said we will not do an analysis ourselves as the department. We are allowing the magistrate themselves, Magistrate Commission itself, to be the one that finishes its process, so that we can be able to inform the interventions that are required. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question comes from Honorable Brett, the delegate from the Free State, the Central Province.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair Radebe. Honourable Minister, thank you for that answer. And I understand that you said that you are capacitating the Magistrates Commission. But I would like to know what mechanisms are being considered to strengthen the independence and effectiveness of the Magistrates Commission, irrespective of just the capacity, particularly in ensuring that disciplinary inquiries are conducted without fear, favour, or reluctance, and that members, can carry out their work consistently and without a conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Brett. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Khatebe. There is no interference in Magistrate Commission. My understanding is that the Magistrate Commission functions fully independently, and that's why it's got representatives of Parliament, honorable members who sit on behalf of Parliament, both the houses in the Magistrate Court. Also can be able to share, I think, as Honorable Brett was saying, who can be able to share some of the experiences if there are difficulties, but where I'm sitting, I'm not aware of any interference or any inhibiting of the Magistrate Commission being able to do the work. My understanding is that they've been able to do their work without fear or favor. That's why they've been able to make recommendation of dismissals of magistrates. So that's my understanding, unless if Honorable Briet has different information that he can provide so that we can follow up on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I would just like to address the delegates that my video is off, because if I can turn it on, I'll be thrown off the platform, as it happened when I was joining in. So the next question, Honorable Minister, now we come to question number 155, asked by Honorable Zulu. The question deals with the issues of the credit for. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just my apologies, I think, let me just get the written one on the credit for. My apologies for that. Chairperson, just to indicate that the NPA is committed to ensuring justice for apartheid-era crimes so that families can find closure and begin the healing process. We acknowledge that our country's history is besmirched with unspeakable acts of gross human rights violation committed under a veil of secrecy. A large volume of TRC cases remains unresolved. Families deserve that justice be served and have repeatedly demanded the truth. To get justice, we must first establish the truth about how victims met his or her demise. You would note, Chair, as it is evident in the current proceedings of the Craddock 4, evidence has been led from important witnesses, including the loved ones of Mrs. Koniwe, Mhlauli, Mkonto, and Zalat, which throws the light on what transpired in 1985. I must indicate, Chair, that we remain committed that this work is important and all support needs to be given to ensure that all cases where the inquest needs to be done. Specifically on the Craddock 4, we did apologize to the families for the delay, but explain some of the difficulties. Initially, there were challenges around the issue of supporting the families, which we have been able to do that, ensuring that all the families of the victims are able to have support. And we do believe that in terms of the inquest itself, as is scheduled between the 2nd and the 4th, as we have indicated, it will continue without interruption and will continue to monitor the work. But also, I must say, if you note that we have also had a process where the families felt that there's been a blockage in terms of the inquest itself, the Galata 4 and other TRC-related matters. They had to go to court in Pretoria High Court to say to us that there's been actually blockage of prosecution of TRC cases. And that led to the establishment of the Commission of Inquiry. So with that work, we do believe from the state that all the truth will be laid bare. And I can assure you, Chair, that as the state has not been deliberate act to stop the prosecution, I'm sitting as the minister working around the clock to ensure that those that needs to go to court needs to go to court, and all other matters that we need to find closure as per the Parliament report that we received, ensuring that the houses that needs to be rebuilt are rebuilt, the community projects that needs to be done are done. And I must report that, Chair, in terms of the Gallows project, we almost at the end and will finalize it this year as part of our work in the TRC Commission work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Zulu, any follow-up question or comment?
No, thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Khatebe. Greetings to Minister Kubai. Minister, following the 2021 High Court ruling that criticized the NPA for political interference in TRC cases, what reforms have been implemented to prevent future failures? How does the department plan to restore public confidence injustice for apartheid victims, including the CREDOC 4. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson, and thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Zulu. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Zulu, for the question. I think we remain committed. We did note the issue of the submission on 2021, and it's a matter that we are dealing with at the Pretoria High Court. Let me assure you that what we have done now, for example, including the issue of changing the regulation that has to do with legal aid, allowing Legal Aid South Africa to support victims as they go to inquest, because previously there was no such support, financial support for legal representatives of the victims. So being able to do those will allow for even many others to be able to find the closures and be represented in the court. Another area that we looked at was support to the families, because many of them will have to travel from areas where they are staying to go and attend the court. So it's a matter that we have taken as a decision in the department as part of supporting the victims to go and be able to arrive at the court and testify and tell what has happened. But more so, again, paying attention to the persons of interest so that they also appear in court to answer. What is unfortunate sometimes is that you find that the crime scene have been altered. Sometimes in cases you find that some people are no longer there. But if you look at the report that NPA is producing in terms of this TRC matters, you'll see that quite a number of them are being opened up, and there's accountability, and we are monitoring this. And we've committed that we'll regularly table these reports to Parliament, because that's what is expected from us. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Mudupi, a delegate from Bukoni Purima. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Honorable Khadebe. Honorable Minister, allow me, on behalf of the families of CREDOC 4 and people of South Africa, to thank the department for ensuring that justice is served to the victim and families of the CREDOC. Also, the support that to the victims. Honorable Minister, my follow-up question is whether the department has conducted any due risk analysis of factors that may compromise these cases. If so, what are the mitigating strategies for such risks? For example, what contingency measures has the department put in place to deal with some of the suspects who may plead poverty or unaffordability to pay legal costs? So I move. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mdupi. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mdupi. In terms of the CREDOC 4, the risk that remained is in relation to the person of interest that used to work in the Department of Defense, who has claimed that they are not able to afford a legal representative, but also saying that they did the action as per instruction under their commanders in the defense, and therefore the state has a responsibility to pay for their legal costs. That is a matter that is ongoing. We are engaging we are engaging defense so that we can see that this matter does not become an inhibitor in terms of concluding this process. In other persons of interest, for example, those who were in SAPS, have been represented, and SAPS have been able to provide minimum support in terms of financial, so that in the interest of the truth, so that they do not deny or they do not agree to being able to take a stand or being named, as we would have heard on the opening, where some of them were arguing that their names should not be read out until such that the legal matters or financial support for their representatives is sorted out. So we will continue to pay attention to this. One of the risks that we had previously, as I said, it was us supporting the victims, which we had closed that, and therefore that has opened the way for us to be able to conclude the work that you are doing. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question will come from Honorable Bishop from the province of Mpumalanga, the province of the Rising Sun.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and good afternoon to the Minister. I haven't seen sun for quite some time, so Mpumalanga is not doing well with regard to that. Minister, you have now acknowledged the long-standing failures of your department, and given that nearly 4 decades have passed since the brutal murder of the Cradock Four, what concrete and time-bound actions will the department take beyond symbolic statements to ensure that this inquest is not another performative gesture? And more importantly, will you, Minister, commit to an independent mechanism to fast-track all the other outstanding TRC cases so that victims, families across the country are not forced to rely on political will for justice, but can rely on the rule of law? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Bishop. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hope, and thanks, Honorable Bishop, though I hope you do understand the nature of what an inquest is. I got worried in how you are describing what is expected out of it. I'm not so sure if we do have the same understanding of what an inquest is. And similarly, you're talking about long outstanding failures of the department. I don't think they're long outstanding. You see, Honorable Bishop, the issue of inquest, and especially dealing with apartheid crimes, you need a witness, you need a crime scene, you need the victims to, or somebody to tell you these are the people. Now, in relation to some of these cases, you find that there's not even a single person that is still alive who can even point on the crime scene. Secondly, you find that in the areas where the inquest is, because the prosecuting team has to reconstruct the case. They have to be, so that they don't go and say you call an inquest. You find that it's just a talk show, it's not adding value. It's not something that can be able to say, these are the people of interest that would have been involved in the murders, that would have been involved in the heinous crimes. And therefore, so there can be, I mean, to suggest that a political party such as the NC, which is the victim actually in this case, because majority of the people who have been killed are members of the liberation movement, to say that they can be able to do political posturing rather than a real repatriation and reconciliation properly and being able to give justice, I think it's quite rich, honestly speaking. I don't think where I'm sitting, any of the members who have seen their brothers, who have seen their sisters, who have seen their fathers, who have seen their neighbors being killed, can go into government and walk in and say deliberately, I'm going to make sure that there is no truth about it. So it's something that we've got to be cognizant about and sensitive about, because many of the people, their wounds are not healed. And in the manner that we deal with this matter must be sensitive to those pains, to those wounds, so that we can help South Africa to heal. It's not only those families that must heal, but the entire society must be able to heal. There are many, many South Africans that today are still asking questions about their whereabouts, and even inquests are not going to be able to help them. We must be sensitive to that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question will come from Honorable Teza, the delegate from the province of the Rising Sun.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Minister, let me first start off by saying that the EFF welcomes the decision taken by the National Assembly earlier this month to adopt an EFF motion that will reopen an inquest into the Cradock Four. Can the Minister explain, though, why 3 decades later are we still sitting? Has there been a reluctance and to prosecute perpetrators of apartheid, particularly given her response about witnesses that should be on board? First, couldn't the delay have contributed to more people that are not coming, that would not come on board to assist the department to bring about justice for the perpetrators of apartheid? And given the fact that families of victims had to resort to legal action to compel the state to do what is constitutionally required And in particular, what role has the NPA and the Department of Justice play in delaying this process and denying justice and closure to millions of South Africans that were affected by apartheid? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Treza. I think you'll appreciate the fact that you are actually allowed to ask only one follow-up question, but the discretion is with the Minister whether she'll answer all these questions which you have raised. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. I think I did answer a number of the questions Honorable Member did raise. And again, Honorable Members, that's why the President set up the Commission of Inquiry, because there's an allegation that there's been deliberate sabotaging of TRC cases. Perhaps maybe that will clarify. From where I'm sitting, I do not have evidence of such, that there's been deliberate sabotage of cases that relates to TRC. And that's why we still believe that everybody that has been acting has acted in good faith. If there's been such, those individuals will be pointed out at the commission. They will answer themselves why and how they've done that. I think that's what we can leave it at, because consistently members are insinuating that there's been. Where I'm sitting as the current Minister of Justice, I've looked at information before me. I do not have such in front of me that says that. And I do acknowledge, you know, when we say 30 years down the line of inquest, and I keep on saying, at what point, what information do you have? You know, sometimes colleagues, honorable members, let's not behave like we've come from somewhere we arrived. Honorable member, remember when we took over this country, we had nothing as the government, the democratic government. We had systems and institutions that existed with those individuals in. And to assume and think that they would have just walked away without a fight, in as the democratic government takes over this institution, I think will not be correct. Many of the people have forced and fought in this institution to say, let's have ensuring that we can be able to see. So the transitional methods and all those things really took some time in terms of handing over of power, administratively and practically so. I mean, even some of us would remember, President Thabo Mbeki even alluded to say, when he walked into the office as deputy president, there was not even a single paper that existed in the office. Now, reconstructing all these cases, being able to go and build a solid case that can have people that can go before a court can't be assumed that can happen overnight, colleagues. I think that's where we need to acknowledge it. That I don't think, and I can say this upfront, from where I'm sitting, I've looked at evidence in front of me. I do not think that there was a deliberate act to sabotage it. But if there is, honorable members are more than free to approach the Commission of Inquiry so that they can provide that evidence, so that those who have done so can be brought to book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think that is reassuring that your department is determined to ensure that the perpetrators of apartheid matters are brought to book. Because apartheid was declared a crime against humanity. Please do that for the sake of the victims' families. Honorable Minister, we now come to question 171 asked by Honorable Nuwe, which deals with the issue of state capture cases. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. The NPA has made progress in responding to the state capture corruption matters, both in terms of the number of high-profile cases enrolled and by removing the profit from crime through the work of the NPA's Asset Forfeiture Unit. Since the submission of the report to the President, IDEC has been dealing with 120 recommendations by the State Capture Commission, which are dealt with under 37 cases. Of these cases, 82 recommendations comprising of 20 cases are still under investigation. 23 recommendations comprising of 9 cases are before the court. 4 recommendations comprising of 2 cases have been finalized. 11 recommendations comprising of 5 cases are under consideration for authorization, while IDEC decided not to prosecute 1 case involving 1 recommendation. IDEC is also dealing with state capture-related matters where no specific recommendations were made by the Chief Justice Zondo. These are 57 cases, 28 cases are before the court, 23 are under investigations, and 6 are being considered for authorization. If we can indicate as well, Honorable Member, the enrolled cases are very complex, most with more than 10 accused persons and entities. The accused persons normally bring interlocutory applications, change legal representatives consistently, whom then apply for postponements, which delays matters. IDEC only came into operation in August 2024 and has been focused on this work. Therefore, the recruitment of investigators only commenced recently. So the issue of investigative capacity still affects IDEC's ability to finalize investigations within reasonable period of time. And as you would have heard, the IDEC always opposes these applications and apply in terms of Section 342A of the CPA to force the defense to trial. IDEC also collaborates with other stakeholders such as the DPCI on investigations, SARS for tax prosecution, AFU and SIU to recover lost funds. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The originator of the question is Honorable Nuwe from the Free State, the Central Province. Any question, Honorable Nuwe, or comment?
Thank you very much, House Chair. And thank you, the Minister, for the comprehensive and elaborative response. I believe that even those who doubt that the department is indeed attending to the outcome of the Zondo Commission cases, they are listening wherever they are. And further on, Minister, in the light of pervasive capture of key institutions of the state as part of the state capture mechanization, has the department vetted investigators and prosecutors in the National Prosecuting Authority as part of the preempting deliberate sabotage and compromising of some cases of dubious ends? Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Nuwe. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Nuwe. Indeed, there is consistent vetting of those who work within the environment that we do, and also within the prosecuting authority, so that we can ensure that people who are doing this work are not compromised. But as I said earlier on, over and above those that are the vetting, we have actually requested that all those who are in the employ of NPA must go through lifestyle audits. And that we believe will assist us to be able to deal with those that could find themselves in the wrong side of the law instead of prosecuting people. And we'll deal with that. And we also call upon public, if there are cases that you know, or individuals within our ranks that you know that are acting outside what they are supposed to do, to be able to alert us. Whistleblowing is important so that we can continue to protect. We move from the basis of knowing that the people have good interest in serving the country. And if such is not happening, we do rely on the public and everybody else, but within even our systems, to be able to say, we will take full responsibility, but also bring them to book in terms of prosecution. You would have seen the spokesperson recently going out indicating some of the prosecutors that were found on the wrong side of the law being prosecuted. So there's a lot of work that is being done to ensure that we protect the state from interference, but also ensuring that we can bring those who do wrong into book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable du Plessis, a delegate from Mpumalanga, the home of the God's window. Over to you, Honorable du Plessis.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Just a correction, I come from the province of Champions. I come from Gauteng.
I thought it was Boshoff. I'm sorry, yes. It's from Echos, Gauteng, Maboni.
Thank you very much. Chair, thank you, Minister, for the list of actions to come to ensure investigations and potential consequences. However, what tangible assurance does South Africa have that the Zondo Commission was not only established to appease the understandable anger of voters, but that real consequences will come from these investigations? especially with some individuals implicated by the report who are current sitting members of the 7th Parliament? Thank you very much.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Duplessis. I think the issue and the assurance is through accountability, where we would consistently report on progress that has been made, as I have alluded, in terms of the number of recommendations versus the investigation, and where are they in which stages. And many of them we do see for ourselves as they appear before court. But also what we have as a mechanism is that we report, there's a report that is submitted to the President regularly in terms of progress on the implementation, and it's submitted through Cabinet on the progress on the implementation of the state capture recommendation. So there is mechanisms of accountability, but also holding us accountable to be able to see this work. And we have said to the NPA as well that they should be able to do their work without interference, without fear or favor. And I have assured them as the minister that I will not interfere with their work. They should be able to do their work as expected by South African public. But also we must commend the work that has been done by the Asset Forfeiture Unit, being able to exceed the target and recovering the money. This is what is important, to be able to take back the money that belongs to the state, that is so much needed. And I must say, honorable members, if we look at what the Kara money does, for example, when you look at the drones at the Border Management Authority that they are using, it's money from Kara. This is what AFU has been able to collect. When you look at Operation Valamukoti, is the money that comes from Kara. This is the money that AFU through under NPA has been able to recover so that we can be able to fight crime. So recovering this money is quite important because it helps us to fight other areas of crime, including some of the areas now that we are looking. For example, the support of social development is also through Kara. We've been able to support that. So we'll continue to do that as part of supporting even gender-based violence. We'll be able to, as we get this money back, be able to support some of the work. We said we should look at Tutuzela centers and Kara money being able to support Tutuzela centers. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the extensive response which you have just provided. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Keza, a delegate from Mpumalanga, the province of the Rising Sun. Honorable Keza. Honorable Keza, I'm going to count to 3. If you don't come into the platform, I'll call the next questioner. 1, 2, 3. Yes, Keza?
Sorry about the recent changes, Chair, into the question. If you can just bear with me.
All right, can I ask the next delegate to answer when you're sorting yourself out?
Yes, Chair.
The next question, follow-up question, will come from Honorable Peter, a delegate from Eastern Cape, the home of legends. Over to you, Honorable Peter.
Thank you, Chair. I'm struggling with a network, but I'll try my best. Good evening, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, a recent report have revealed that the National Prosecuting Authority still does not have full access to the Zondo Commission database, a critical tool in holding those implicated in state capture accountable. The continued delays raises serious concerns about whether your department is truly committed to transparency and justice, or whether certain individuals are being shielded from prosecution. Why has the National Prosecuting Authority still not granted full unrestricted access to the Zondo Commission database? Can you give this House a clear assurance that no political interference or internal efforts to protect implicated individuals who are behind these delays? I thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Peter. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Peter. Let me indicate that when I got into the portfolio, first thing I saw was headlines around this matter. where NPA was saying they do not have access. I immediately convened a meeting between the two teams to understand where the problem was. We did put together a team between the IDEC and the Professor Musala, who is responsible for the database, and they've been working very well. I can assure you that NPA currently has access to the database and there's no hindrance. And I've committed to the team that should there be any problem, they should be able to flag it to me and I will definitely intervene. So where I'm sitting, Honorable Member, there's not been a problem in terms of access to the database by NPA, and therefore this has not been an inhibitor or a blockage for them to be able to do their work. So that matter was old as last year. This year has been closed. Actually, we closed it in January already. You'd have seen a statement issued by both leading by the DG and the NPA and DPP. So that matter was long closed. We do not have it as a current matter, and there's no need for me to further say anything more. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Over to you, Honorable Keza.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I don't know. Maybe I should apologize for the delay and in addition for nature. Given the identified challenges in prosecuting state capture cases, what specific time frames or milestones have you put in place in collaboration with the National Prosecuting Authority and the Hawks to ensure measurable progress and accountability in the prosecution of these cases? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Keza. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Keza, I think let's also still, while we are there, separate the role of the minister, because the minister must not interfere in prosecutorial decisions of the NPA. So what we do is to continue to support them, create a conducive environment for them to work. For example, like they were saying that there was a challenge with access to records. We've made sure that they have access to records, and therefore they must be able to do their work. They must work, and they've continued to report that they are collaborating with the Hawks, as you say, collaborating with SIU, IDEC is working with everybody, so that end to end, there's work that is being done, closing gaps of investigation, but making sure that the capacity that is needed for the people that is there is consistently improved. So where there is a need for more people to come and assist, that will be done through the NPA request if they need to be with me. But most of the powers are within the NPA to be able to find the capacity that they need to be able to deal with the work. So in that regard, yes, we'll continue to support, but we will not interfere. We'll not even ask who they are prosecuting for what. And I've made it a decision, Honorable Keza, that I would not even ask, even if the law allows me through Section 33 to ask for files, I will not ask for a file, because I want to build confidence in the work that they are doing, that there isn't a political interference, but also to protect myself so that people don't say that I'm chasing them, I'm making them being prosecuted. And in that way, we now know that we can build an effective system, but build an NPA that is working for the country without fear or favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the very elaborative answers you provided this afternoon. I think they were helpful to all the people, all the delegates in the House, plus the people at the country as a whole. On the question paper, Honorable Minister, there was question 457, which was a written question, which, because they claimed that it was not responded to, it was supposed to have been transferred to an oral question. But I just received a response from the Secretary to the NCOP that the question was responded to. I'll request the questioner, Honorable Godsell, to make a follow-up with the questions office on the side of the NCOP. Honorable delegates, I would like to thank the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Development, MECs, all permanent and special delegates, and SALGA representatives for availing themselves for the sitting. Honorable delegates, that concludes the business of the day. The House is adjourned. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
June
you.
16
Thank
generation.
you,
Bye-bye.
Honorable House Chair. Thank you, Minister.